Welcome to That's Canon, the podcast talking about the Canon film series and other similar movies. This is episode 56, and I'm Phil.
And I'm Greg.
And we're talking about the David Carradine film Behind Enemy Lines.
Or also known as P.O.W. The Escape. Was there any other also known as?
Known as Attack Force Nam.
It's gotta love that theme, this running theme of Canon movies that have like 80 alternate titles because they sold it to whoever they could sell it to around the world and just name it whatever the fuck you want, whatever.
Exactly.
Just pay us.
Or like it failed and they're like, what if we just like re-release it on video?
What if we just change the name? Like, didn't they do that with what was that Tom Cruise movie that like bombed at the box office but ended up doing really well on streaming? They changed it.
Oh yeah, Live Die Repeat.
Yeah, it was Edge of Tomorrow too.
Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, that movie's awesome.
Yeah, that movie's dope. But yeah, I think it was like a title. Oh, people didn't know what the fuck it was.
They also did that with Ghostbusters, the remake or the reboot, and they called Answer the Call after it came out on video.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a complex business reason, but that they do all that renaming.
I think it's just to trick people into going
watching
like,
it.
Exactly. They're like, I don't like the Ghostbusters, but this one's called Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
Answer the Call. Is that a different movie?
It's got a different fucking title.
And then they got you.
They got
you by the balls.
Exactly.
Womp.
This movie was interesting. I'll say that right off the bat. I thought it had a pretty good plot, but then it didn't really capitalize on anything. This was like the most uncanon action film I think we've seen so far.
I think we're of a difference of opinion here. I kind of love this movie.
Wow. I won't say that it was bad at all, but I
kind of middle of the road for you though.
I think I summed it up by saying it's plain white toast with no butter.
See, yeah, I think maybe the reason I liked it so much is because the bar is so low that I'm used to just eating plain toast without butter, which is the missing in action, duology, whatever the hell it was called.
There's the duology.
It's like, as far as Vietnam movies go that we've seen so far, this blows Missing in Action, both of them, way out of the water.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, I mean, we'll hear why, but I think like this, it kept up the action nicely throughout. I like the characters. They didn't just blow their like explosion load in the beginning of the first scene and then leave us with boring nonsense the rest of the middle. Like they sprinkled the budget out throughout, lots of really great sets, lots of fun, like different kinds of action, different modes of transport. I don't know. It was just, it had enough variety and pacing to keep it going. And plus, I got to say this up front, our guy, David Carradine, even if he was like drunk through this entire thing, he's got more charisma in his pinky finger than Chuck Norris has in his entire body.
1,000%. I was going to comment on that. David Carradine was pretty good in this movie.
Yeah.
I've only seen like a handful of David Carradine films. I mean, Kill Bill, obviously, probably being the one that most people have seen or remember David Carradine from.
Yeah, right? A lot of our generation. I mean, he was in that Kung Fu series. I've never seen it. That Kung Fu series, I think, was his big claim to fame. And not a lot of people our age have probably seen it. So I think, yeah, Kill Bill is probably the biggest thing. He was in some other. Was he in any other canon movies that we've seen so far?
I think this is the first David Carradine appearance that we've had so far.
Okay,
because he has like a kind of memorable voice. Like it's kind of like a whisper. He kind of talks in a whisper.
Yeah, but yeah, like when he's kind of got that like reputation for kind of being like a washed up actor in the 80s after Kung Fu, and then he kind of like got revived a little bit with Kill Bill. But he's done a lot of B movies. But I feel like when he tries, he can really give a good performance. I think the only reason he doesn't work 100% here is because by this point in time, he's a little too old to be believable as sort of like a wartime action hero.
100%. I think that's his only like, that's the only negative that I could give David Carradine for that is he he looks pretty old. He looks age appropriate for a colonel, but he is pretty old. He's like, he's 50 years old in this movie. He shouldn't be jumping through the
Like,
jungles of Vietnam.
yeah, like doing frontline Arnold Schwarzenegger action shit, right?
Exactly. And he looks like a normal dude too, which I can always appreciate.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a dad bod thing going on, which again, I mean, like we're just so conditioned by 80s action movies that they are like built like Arnold Schwarzenegger tanks, so that when you see a normal looking guy like him, it kind of takes you out of it. But again, his performance sort of redeems it a little bit, so I'm okay with it.
It's funny that you said that. At this point, David Carradine is kind of like a washed up actor because Kung Fu, the show, from what I'm reading here, only lasted for 3 years. So, like, to think that he had, I'm assuming, a hit TV show for
Mhm.
3 years, and then I don't know,
Nothing.
like, he has like he has a ton of credits here, but yeah, I mean, a lot of it just seems like it's B
Kind of B movie
movie
stuff,
type
yeah.
stuff. And then there was an attempt to bring kung fu back in between here and behind enemy lines, but nothing much else. It's kind of like it's kind of weird because the Carradines are, what do you call it? Like when you're,
Like Hollywood royalty, basically.
yeah, isn't that kind of weird though that there's Keith Carradine, Robert Carradine,
What's
Callista
their
and
dad's
Kansas
name?
Carradine. John Carradine is the
John,
dad.
yeah. Yeah.
But they're like, they're all kind of just B movie actors. Now, John Carradine, way more famous or in bigger things than his sons ever were.
Mhm.
I mean, though David Carradine was in a Tarantino film,
Yeah,
but
he's got nothing to sneeze at. His Even though there's a lot of garbage in his IMDb, he's done some good things. He probably did the
exactly.
best of all the kids, I think.
He's like the what is it? Alec Baldwin
Oh,
of the Carradines, right?
that's true. Of
There's
all
like fucking
Baldwins,
50 Baldwins, but there's only one that's like truly famous.
that's actually a really good way to describe it. Yeah,
I don't
of the of
know.
the of the B movie universe. Yeah.
How did I know we're not talking about the movie yet, but how did the Carradines or the Baldwins never just have a movie with all of them in it?
Oh.
Like the Carradines, the movie, where like they do stuff together.
Carradine crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Going bald with the Baldwins. I don't know, like because at one point Alec Baldwin and the one that was in Encino Man, not Encino Man, but
Steven.
Stephen Baldwin. He was the one in Biodome. At one point, they were both fairly famous.
Yeah, who was the one who was in the Flintstones sequel?
Oh, geez, I think that was Stephen Baldwin. He played
Stephen
Barney,
Baldwin.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen Baldwin. So it's really only like Daniel Baldwin in that early mid 90s part that kind of just never hit
Faded
stardom.
out. Yeah.
They should all just fucking did a movie with each other.
Baldwin's versus Carradines, like a
Bal-
universe crossover, like AVP.
the Baldwins play like mafiosos, and the Carradines are obviously kung
Like,
fu
yeah,
masters.
they're kung fu masters. It's like two rival family gangs, but they're all old as shit now.
And they find out that they're plotted against each other by like a different
Oh, there's gonna be a
family,
third. Yeah,
like
like a
the
third.
Barrymores, the Drew Barrymore and her, or the Ron Howards. It's Ron and Clint
The fucking
Howard.
how? Oh my god! And Bryce Dallas, she's
Right.
like, she's like the boss.
Yeah,
Oh
fucking
my
at that
god.
time Rance Howard would still be alive too, so the dad.
Oh my god. There's no way the budget would ever come together for crap like that, but man, that's fun to think about.
Well, yeah, I think you only really have to pay Ron and
Alec,
Alec Baldwin a substantial wage. The other ones, I think they'll work for like fucking
a case of
peanuts.
beer.
Yeah. Here's some cocaine, Steven. Oh, thanks.
Cocaine, case of Bud Light Lime. Best we
Yeah,
can do.
exactly. Bud Light Lime, the classiest of buds.
Oh man. Yeah, I'd watch that movie. Nah,
Oh,
I'm kidding. I wouldn't.
it would be a canon film. You would.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Well, this movie opens up. We get first off, I think I found a pretty good copy of this
Dude.
on
Yeah.
YouTube. This looks like it was a Blu-ray. I really didn't want to sign up for that PickFlix or whatever the fuck it was called.
Yeah, that fucking dick flicks or whatever it
Yeah,
was. It was, yeah, because normally I comment on that for that's like the first line of my notes is, "Damn, Phil, you found a great like like sketchy YouTube rip." Because normally those are like VHS, like third, fourth generation VHS transfers that you get on YouTube. So you don't really feel so bad about essentially like gray market pirating it. But in this case, it's like I feel a little guilty. Like I feel like I'm legit pirating this movie right now.
exactly.
It's too
Uh,
good.
we get the beautiful Canon logo, the animation, the sound, the everything. And
Yeah.
again, I we'll have to go back, or I'll have to go back and like listen to some of the previous episodes, or actually start taking a tally mark. But it kind of goes to show you that a better
Mm-hmm.
Canon film gets the full Monty.
Full Monty. Yep.
The movie starts off with the news. It's Richard Milhouse Nixon, kind of talking about, he's like, oh, we're going to be pulling out of Vietnam, and we're going to talk about the Paris peace agreements, blah, blah, blah. And then we cut to old as fuck David Carradine. He looks
Yeah.
tired. He already looks tired.
God, I have a 12-hour flight all the way to Vietnam. I'm tired of shit.
I'll say this. David Carradine shows up. His hair looks like it's within military regulations. He's wearing his uniform properly. Like, there is at least a
It's true.
modicum of attention to detail
Yeah,
right
but
now.
Phil, how I was gonna ask you, how were their salutes? Because the salutes at
Dude,
the end of the scene look sloppy as shit, even to
they're
me.
so limp wristed. The general that he's talking to, which again, like the general, he looks like he would
Looks like
be
a
a
general.
general, right?
Yeah,
He's bald, he's got the
white hair.
stars, and he they both have such a limp wristed 90-degree fucking salute. They both should be discharged,
I
tried
mean,
for treason. Like,
but what like if two officers salute poorly in the middle of a forest and no one's around to see it, is it really treason?
yeah, exactly. No one cares. They're officers.
Oh
Oh
man.
man. But yeah, so David Carradine, they're looking at a map, a POW map, and David Carradine's like, we got to go into this place silently, but now you're changing the plan, and we're gonna go in guns blazing. And the general's like, that's the way, that's the fucking American way, and we got to make it loud and proud.
Go in there, guns blazing. We want them to hear it all the way in Paris.
Yeah, exactly. I kind of I definitely get both sides of the fence, right? David Carradine obviously wants to sneak in and rescue the POWs.
Right.
While
Least risk.
the general wants to show an overwhelming show of force to potentially scare the enemy, in this case, the Vietnamese, into releasing the POWs and giving up more POWs, right?
Right. Instead of just disappearing them, which is what they're afraid is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. But David Carradine doesn't like this, but he goes along with the mission anyways. Because if he didn't, then the movie would be over.
Well, I'm already here. As well.
Exactly.
Bud Light Lime.
And it's not like he really has a choice. I'm pretty sure if the general's like, get your fucking ass on that
Helicopter.
chopper, he's gonna do it. He's gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
So as David Carradine is making his way to the helicopter, there's this really weird and awkward conversation between this 18-year-old soldier and a grizzled hard veteran, where they're essentially like, who the fuck is this guy coming up here? And they're like, that's Colonel James Cooper, aka David Carradine. And he's like, he's the best of the best, and he only has one rule: everyone comes back.
It's probably like a low point for like cheesiness. The dialogue is actually pretty good in this movie. It's pretty believable, but this is like, it doesn't start off great. Like they always have to throw something like that in all these movies where they have to explain why the main character is such a badass. It just seems so forced in this.
I I agree. This tagline, this slogan, this forced thing that they're exactly that is, it's immediately disregarded because spoilers, as soon as someone dies, fucking David Carradine throws him to the side, and he's like, "Well, we got to get the fuck out of here."
Get the fuck out of here.
Right? Like it's kind of weird. At first I thought it was going to go sideways, where essentially David Carradine's like a superhero in this, and he's literally stopping everyone from dying so he could be looked at this as this really amazing colonel.
Yeah, cough cough, Chuck Norris.
Exactly. Cough. Chuck Norris style. But when that didn't happen, and they kept saying his one rule is everyone comes back, and he just kept letting everyone die, I'm like, how the fuck is anyone saying this about David Carradine's character?
But two things, Phil. He gives a shit enough to try, even though he keeps failing. And B, I guess I don't have a B. A, at least he tries.
A, he tries. B, he goes out of his way, right? He goes up and beyond the Call of Duty multiple occasions throughout this film. And I appreciate the realism of it, to where like he assesses the situation and he goes, it's fucked. Like, I understand that this guy's dead. He's also dead weight now. We got to keep fucking moving. I can appreciate that. Just cut this piece of dialogue and you bump this up like half a star.
Oh yeah. It's like classic show don't tell. Like, let us see that that's what he's all about in this first action scene that we're about to get, that he doesn't leave people behind.
And I mean, also spoilers, this 18-year-old is going to die because he has like a religious necklace on.
He's like praying on the ride over.
Exactly. They're in the helicopters. It fucking looks great. Like the helicopters are flying low to the ground through the jungle. It looks awesome.
Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you this up front as soon as you saw it, because they start rolling the opening credits in this one. So we get like a nice flight montage to the camp. Jungle looks great. The camp looks fucking awesome, which we'll get more of those too. But so did they shoot this in Vietnam or somewhere in like Southeast Asia?
It definitely looks like it. Shockingly, there wasn't a lot of information about this movie because, spoiler alert, it didn't do that well. It just said that they shot it in the Los Angeles County Arboretum and Botanic Garden and the Philippines.
Okay, the Philippines. Yeah, I should have known that they do a lot of like, movie shooting in the Philippines whenever they need like a jungle setting or something.
I will say this: it looks great, and it more well handled than I'm blanking on his name. Missing in Action and stuff like that. It definitely looks like a real movie. As they come up to the POW camp, which again, it looks great.
It's huge too.
Yeah, it is huge. It's a really great set. They start blowing it up. They start attacking David Carradine and his men. They hit the ground. And this part kind of lost me because as the soldiers hit the ground, they immediately start just shooting off the side of the hip at nothing.
I'm pretty sure David Carradine isn't even like off the chopper. He's like midair jumping off and he's already shooting. Just like, and like if you look at the angle of his weapon, how he's holding it, he's shooting like up in the air at like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, I don't.
There's nothing up unless he's like trying to hit an eagle or something.
He's shooting fucking Vietnamese birds, and it's so chaotic, and it's so. This is definitely the worst action in the film, and I don't know if it's on purpose just to show the chaos of like the Americans coming into the POW camp, but as I was watching it, I was even commenting, "There's no one in the fucking camp."
Yeah. It's pretty obvious. And you right away, like, oh shit, it's like something, if there were other people in this camp, we would have seen them patrolling in like an establishing shot, like up in the tower and walking the perimeter. Like, something's up just based on how this action scene is going so far. And they're just shooting at nothing, basically.
At nothing. I was like, this is a really weird action scene that they're not showing them blowing away the enemy.
Yeah.
Because like they angle the people on the right side of the frame shooting off to the left, and I'm like, man, is this like a censored cut? Because we ain't seeing anyone fucking die.
Yeah, who's on the other end of that bullet?
But eventually David Carradine, he's like, oh fuck. And he's like, retreat, stop firing, and then all of a sudden the Vietnamese start mortar shelling fucking everyone.
Awesome.
And
I love that David Carradine, like this already sets up the fact that he's good. He's pretty good in this movie as far as David Carradine performances go, because he doesn't just say it's an ambush. Like he just says, "Oh fuck!" Like, and you
yeah,
know what's happening. It's
exactly.
great.
While like someone like Chuck Norris would telegraph exactly his thoughts coming out. David
Straight
Carradine,
faced.
exactly. As the Americans start retreating, like I said earlier, the kid, he just gets fucking shot up. Um,
Teague, you were you were not long for this world. As soon as you
no.
told us how old you were dead.
As soon he was like, I'm an 18-year-old who believes in Jesus. I don't know why he sounds like a country kid because he's not. Um,
Oh, come on, man.
you
Don't leave
knew
it
he,
behind.
yeah, you knew this kid was fucking toast. The one thing I like in action movies, but I know better in real life, I always think it's cool when soldiers bite the pin and throw the grenade. But in real life,
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of force to get the pin out of the grenade, else the fucking pins would be dropping out of grenades constantly.
Left and right. Achoo. Oh shit.
Like people would just be
Boom.
fucking blowing up. Uh,
Or pulling
so
their own teeth out.
exactly. Oh yeah. Oh, horrifying.
Oh my god.
How did your buddy die in the war? He fucking ripped like 5 teeth out and he died from an infection.
Infect. Oh, real Vietnam the movie.
uh, David Carradine quickly assesses out of all
Shit's
the
fucked.
fucking soldiers that have died, he's missing the 18-year-old religious kid.
Yeah.
And then
Gotta go back for him.
he makes the heroic choice. He can't leave anyone behind. And he eventually finds them and he picks them up and he starts running away with them into the forests of Vietnam because he realizes shit's fucked.
Well, yeah, because that he's like it takes him a while to find him. He's somehow surviving this firefight, and like as he's like searching the camp, finds him, and he's like he tries to make his way with the kid over his shoulder to the chopper, and like right as he's about to get there, we get a sweet bazooka shot of one of the Vietnamese soldiers like just blowing away that chopper full of dudes, like right in front of. I almost said Chuck Norris, Jesus, right in front of David
I wish Chuck
Carradine.
Norris was in that
I know,
chopper.
God, that'd be amazing.
Yes, I am so sorry that I forgot to bring that up. That was an awesome fucking explosion.
Right? Yeah, it looked great. I mean, normally like when they blow up helicopters in the movie, these kind of movies, it's always like a really awkward cut to a toy helicopter. They mask that transition pretty well here.
There was only one point in this movie where it was 100% Matchbox cars, and we'll eventually get there. But yes, you're right. This transition was great. Awesome.
Bazookas, woo!
Uh, so David Carradine's carrying the kid through the forest, and this is the point where your quote of the week comes in, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just it's laugh out loud funny for me because of all of the, like you said before, like all of the crap about he leaves no man behind. He's so leave no man behind that he will actively berate you for wanting him to like leave you there. So like he's carrying this kid through the jungle and he's like, no, I'm a dead man. Just leave me. And David Carradine just says, shut up.
Yeah.
Not gonna make
Hang on,
it.
soldier. Just hang on.
We're not gonna make
You
it.
gotta trust me, son.
Leave me.
Shut up.
He's so fucking matter of fact about it.
I know. I mean, it's just like it's just the way he says it. We'll hear it here. It's just like it's the delivery is so matter of fact and just like shut up. Just like okay. Sorry, I asked.
Love it. And but the kid's right. He fucking dies. David Carradine, like again, this is so juxtaposed to what Chuck Norris would do. He takes the time, the emotional time to close the kid's eyes. There's a moment where he's just kind of like looking at the kid and he's emoting sadness. Like,
Yeah, he
and
feels bad that he couldn't save him.
and he takes his cross off of his neck. And then that's when the Vietnamese come and they capture David Carradine. And then we cut to a Japanese guy playing a Vietnamese guy. I don't fucking get, maybe because
Every
it's
time.
the 80s. Maybe because it's the 80s. And Golem and Globus don't fucking care at all.
No.
This guy looks Japanese because he is Japanese.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
only is he fucking Japanese, but he's Mako. He is like one of the world's most popular fucking Japanese actors during that time. Like
Is he? Okay.
he was huge. His fucking Wikipedia, it's like he was born in 1933 in the Empire of Japan, right?
Wow.
So yeah, this guy, I mean, he was in Conan the Barbarian. He's Akiro the Wizard. Have you ever seen Conan the
Oh.
Barbarian?
I shamefully have not, but that's a big title. I mean, that's a pretty sweet role. I'm imagining.
Yep. Oh yeah, Conan the Barbarian is fucking dope as shit. I'm gonna just read some of his American films that he's been in. Sidekicks with fucking Chuck Norris and the Jonathan Brandis kid.
Oh yeah, I remember him.
He was in RoboCop 3. He was one of the Japanese businessmen who build like the evil robot Japanese samurai.
Cool, cool.
Have you never seen Have you ever seen that one?
I have not, but it sounds amazing.
He was also the voice of Master Splinter in TMNT, the
No.
CG animated film that came out in 2007.
Seriously, dude,
Yes.
that guy's been working forever.
Yeah. This guy has been all over the place.
You know,
Mako.
it definitely shows. This like as soon as we see him, and I was immediately thinking back to Missing in Action 2, where we got another really great POW camp like warden character. And I was already thinking, is like, okay, like I wonder if this guy is gonna measure up to that. Like that guy in Missing in Action 2 set a high bar for that kind of character. Boy, does he delivers and exceeds that in this movie. I love this character.
100%. 100%. And one last credit, because I'm pretty sure now that we're finally getting emails from people, someone's going to be like, oh, you're doing stuff. He was in Avatar The Last Airbender. He is
Really
Uncle Iroh for the first 2 seasons. I've never seen Avatar, but I know that's a huge fucking thing. So
cool. That makes sense. And you kind of like your later years, you shift to like voice acting. It's a little bit less intensive, but that's awesome that he's still working then.
So as we transition to the POW camp, again, the camp looks really great. They do. It's so different than a Chuck Norris film because there's like Chuck Norris films. The set for the POW camp is just kind of like static. There was just the buildings, and then there was like a couple of people walking around. But here, there's like fog and smoke, and there's atmosphere
Yeah, I
in the
think
scene.
it's built like on the side of a river, like on the shore of a river or something too, some kind of body of water. So there's like a swampy like a shallow water area where they keep people, like they keep them submerged in water overnight. I forget what they call them. They call it the pit or something. But yeah, it's like there's like nice bridges and things over, and there's some of the towers. It doesn't look like they chopped out a slice of like jungle in the middle of nowhere just to build a small set. Like they actually took the time to pick a cool like scenic location for it.
Exactly. And out of all of the new Americans that we're introduced to, all we really care is that Steve James is here.
Yeah, woo! Our best bud from American Ninja.
I gotta say, I fucking love Steve James. He's so good in these roles where they're
Sidekick roles
simple.
almost.
Yeah, they're simple, but like he does a really great job doing it.
Yeah.
So, as soon as David Carradine shows up, obviously he's getting the works from Mako, or his character name, I guess, is Captain Vin in this.
Yep.
And essentially he's just kind of like, hey, you've been captured, blah, blah, blah. Welcome to hell, essentially like that. But then Captain Vin gets a communication. I don't know how the fuck these people on the other end know, but Captain Vin gets communication and they're like, you have David Carradine, the highest ranking military person in a POW camp, and we're going to transfer him to the Hanoi prison.
Yeah. It's I'm guessing that they knew that they sent that like raiding party to the Americans, reported him missing, and then they report, like I think they probably were able to tie the dots, like, okay, like who do you have from that raid? Like, oh, you've got like, it makes sense. It probably would have taken a while for them to get that information, though.
Exactly. Like a couple days. I understand. Like it's a movie. We got to move fast and furious
And
because we only
with
got 90 minutes to get the entire film out.
got to keep that fat trimmed.
Exactly. So Captain Vin knows that he only has 2 days with David Carradine before they come and transfer him to the Hanoi prison. Thus sets forward the, I guess, the crux of the film. David Carradine, he talks to the other POWs and he's like, who's in charge of the escape party? And he realizes that the Americans are all kind of like beset on each other, especially one guy who I can't remember his name.
Sparks, I think.
Is it Sparks?
Sparks. It's Spark or Sparks, I think. Yeah.
He's like the bad boy of the group.
Yeah, he's got like it's a weird attitude. I don't know if it's like he's super insubordinate and he's like actively antagonistic. Like as soon as David Carradine gets thrown in the pen with him, they give a close up of him and you can already tell that he's like skeptical in some way. Like he doesn't trust him. I don't get where that's coming from. Like what's his motivation for being the bad American guy?
If Sparks was like, I was in his company and got put into a P.O.W camp and he got disillusioned with his everyone comes home attitude, I could believe that. But there's not like there's no dialogue that links his angst against David Carradine.
Yeah, I think the way you described it is probably the best explanation that there is that he probably got drafted. He didn't want to be here to begin with, and he's just kind of pissed off in general at the army for his situation. So he just kind of like naturally hates all of the officers or all the people above him rank wise. So
yeah,
it was definitely weird enough putting it first. I wouldn't find it as distracting later as I thought I would. I was able to kind of forget about the weirdness of that later on.
Yeah, because he like kind of pops in and out, and his B story kind of gets interesting as the movie progresses.
It does, yeah.
But yeah, essentially they're all disjointed. Then we cut back to Mako, who has a stash of probably at least $4 worth of shitty gold that he's stolen from other Americans.
It looks like the wrappers on those gold coins, like chocolate gold coins.
Yeah, 100%.
Super cheap looking.
Someone
but it's treasure.
Exactly. That's I could just think of him. He's like, look at my treasure. And someone's like, that's not that much.
Sir, most of this is chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there's like a fat one and he's like eating the chocolate.
A fat feed. Oh my god. That'd be great.
So later that night, Sparks, another American, they attempt to escape. And they don't attempt to escape. They actually do make it out into the forest.
Yeah.
But then we cut back to dialogue between David Carradine and Mako, where essentially like Mako's like, dude, I fucking hate it here too. Let's fuck off and go to America together.
What a fantastic twist on this formula.
Yes.
I as soon as I realized that that's what was going to be like this kind of the central plot driver, that like we're not going to be stuck in this camp the whole movie. This warden, he wants out too, and there's like they have to like form this uneasy alliance to sort of like to get out of the country to the American lines. It's almost like what happens in Inglourious Bastards with Christoph Waltz's character.
Yes.
Where he's like, I realize my side is fucked. Like we're losing this war. Like I just want out a dodge. So I'll surrender to you and we can, I wanted to go to America. Like what a cool nuance for this character.
100%. I liked it so much when they started doing this. I think that's why my rating isn't as high, because Mako's character never really melds with the group. And because of that, like he's still seen as a bad guy. Granted, he probably did some horrendous shit, in his character's history. But I wish they kind of like people started enjoying his company and he really became a part of David Carradine's group, to where there was like an emotional ending besides the logical, this is the 80s. He's the bad guy because he's not fucking white. Right.
Yeah. I see where you're coming from there. You kind of have because we're like a modern audience, we get our expectations probably set a little higher. Because I think, yeah, like that would have been probably too much for them to think of in the 80s for like, he still had to be kind of like mustache twirling bad guy.
I like how your vision of the 80s is essentially like the fucking the Geico cavemen. They're like the screenwriters are like, he's bad.
He's bad guy. Yeah, I mean, not like think of. You know what I mean? Like
No, I get it though.
It never would have been marketable.
Exactly. No, I think at that time in the 80s, because of everyone's mindset, people would have been more pissed that he doesn't fucking get blown up at the end because he's not an American, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like it's something that would like a nuance that probably would have been more likely to happen in a modern movie. But like I think the way that they could have done it, to your point, is have him meld with the crew. But like he's done too much horrible shit. Like he can't survive the movie and have it be like narratively satisfying, but have him sacrifice himself at the end or something like that.
Exactly.
Or have it be like he dies somehow and they're conflicted about whether or not they want to save, like something like that, where you make the audience feel conflicted about him as a character. Like, oh, like I see him as a good guy, but he's done bad shit. Like try to like make the audience feel that instead of him just being purely evil, which thankfully he's not, but they could have gone further with it.
Exactly. If you did this nowadays, you'd be called woke, which apparently is bad. I don't know.
Hashtag behind enemy lines, too woke.
Exactly. Too woke, too fast. But yeah, so like it's a very interesting situation that David Carradine's in, and obviously for right reasons he doesn't believe Mako, and he's like, no deal, because Mako's like, it's just me and you. We're gonna leave everyone else behind, and David's like, no, I don't leave anyone behind.
There's that line again.
Exactly. So then we kind of go through the motions of every other POW camp movie where they kind of torture people and they push people to the limits. Sparks and the other American, meanwhile, are running through the forest, and the American soldier that doesn't have a name sets off a booby trap, and he gets a bunch of like spikes through the chest, which is brutal as shit.
Yeah, it's a really brutal, really like well executed booby trap little set piece. Like it's huge too. It's like, I mean, it's like a 5x5 foot square of like bamboo spikes, and this guy just gets impaled like 3 or 4 times through the chest. It's brutal.
And Sparks just runs off.
Yeah, just ditches him.
You know, kind of. You know, he's a shitty soldier. That's really hard to say. The double S there.
Shitty shoulders down by the seashore.
Exactly. So the next morning, they find the guy on the spikes. He's still alive, obviously suffering, and they pull him up in a truck, and Mako's like, shoot him, and the Vietnamese just starts blasting him away with their AK-47s. Again, like pretty brutal. I think this is way more brutal than some of the shit that they did in Missing in Action.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is like a brutal kill in that one. What was it the first one or the second one where like that was like a British guy who comes along? The
second one.
Yeah, and don't they put him in a bag with a snake and a rat or something?
They put I almost said David Hasselhoff. They put Chuck Norris in a bag with a rat, and then he kills a rat. He actually kills a real rat. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. Ugh.
The British guy, they do the psychological thing, or they make you think, the audience, that they're going to do the psychological thing where it's a unloaded weapon, and even the Americans are like, don't worry, it's not loaded, and they fucking blow his head off.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Which again, that was pretty dope too.
That was pretty cool. Yeah. But this one where they bring back the booby trap guy, he's like screaming in pain. They've got like him and the booby trap pieces that he was impaled on. Like they just like detached the whole thing from the tree and just brought it with him on a flatbed just to make an example out of it at the camp by shooting him in front of the other POWs.
Mako's like, we got to be careful. We can't destroy any of this. Like, we got to shock and awe the Americans when they see this shit.
I know, like really scary, brutal forethought required to do that.
But so then again, they have like another conversation, Mako and David Carradine, and you can kind of get the sense that Mako doesn't want to do the shit that he's doing. Like, you can kind of see it in his eyes.
He's over it.
Yeah.
That's what makes the whole like uneasy truce to like get out together kind of, it makes it we buy it because of the way that he kind of acts. He's not, again, like that mustache twirling bad guy where he's like laughing maniacally and clearly like getting some kind of sadistic enjoyment out of all the brutality.
Yeah.
He's pretty stoic about it, which helps kind of sell the thing later.
But David Carradine is like, no dice, everyone goes. And then the next day they find Sparks. I don't get, like, the fucking Vietnamese army. They must be like the bloodhounds of military.
Jungle tracking.
Exactly. Every one of these movies, this guy, like an American, has been gone for like a week, and they're like, oh yeah, we fucking found him. Like that. Like, how did you find him? He's like, wearing green in the jungle.
Yeah. I can, here's my rationalization in my head is an American soldier is probably not going to have a great instinct for surviving in the jungle. He's probably not going to get too far. And couple that with the fact that the Vietnamese, like, they're on their home turf and they know the jungle really well and they know how to get through the jungle and track people. That's how I'm kind of like justifying it in my head, is like, oh, the Americans are really bad at it and the Vietnamese are probably really good at it, and they overlap in the middle.
True. Greg, I'm just gonna say it. I love how you start listing stuff out and you're like A, but there's never a B. I love it. I love it.
A, 2, and D.
Exactly. So yeah, Sparks is back,
like
and
Buzz from Home Alone.
Exactly. So Sparks is back, and Mako's like, I'll fucking shoot him. And David Carradine is essentially like, I don't fucking care. Like, you can shoot him. But then Mako shoots off the ropes, his bindings, and Sparks is set free. And then Mako finally is like, fuck it, we're all leaving, and we're doing it tomorrow.
Awesome. I was so cautiously optimistic about where this movie was going to go. I was just so happy that it actually happened. Like, exactly. I for a second there, I thought it was going to be a bait and switch, and we were going to end up in this camp the whole movie.
Like, Mako gets super frustrated and he just starts beating the shit out of all the Americans.
Yeah, exactly. He gets too blinded by rage, and he backtracks, and we're in the camp the whole movie. But no, as soon as he shot the rope and let Sparks down, it's like, oh man, it's happening.
Exactly. I think they do a really great job of like transporting the Americans. They essentially put them in an emptied gas tanker. So it kind of like brings some, it's not like one of those box trucks with like the tarp over it where they can just like literally look inside and be like, oh, there's Americans in here.
There's nobody in here. We're just crates.
Exactly. Like, there's thought put into this movie. It's insane.
Yeah. And they even like they even put a little bit of like, and that's not gasoline, but it's like water. They even put like a little bit of water in so that when the guy at the like the enemy line checkpoint goes to check the faucet in the back of the tanker to see if it's actually full, a little bit of liquid comes out. So it's like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
Really good detail.
Yeah. So yeah, they're at a checkpoint, and like you said, he checks the faucet. Some liquid comes out. It, like, again, it's just the checkpoint even looks good. I don't know. I'm kind of shocked by the set design for this movie because I'm just so used to lazy cannon crap.
Yeah, it feeling really cheap. Yeah, you're right. I mean, even little thing like this, they could have gone the lazy way and just had like a 2x4, a couple like a 2x4 as like a, what do they call those things? Like the little like blockers, like a
roadblock thing. Yeah.
Yeah. They could have like done like cheaply painted it, a couple sandbags and like two guys in uniform, like make it like really cheap and chintzy looking. But it's like there's like a full hut there. It looks like a proper installation. I mean, it could have been real for all I know. They just went and found one that they just had to dress up a little bit. But
like, Menachem Golem's like, look what I found, and they're like, write it into the movie.
Right into the movie. Seriously, like, why not use the production value if your budget's low? Like, eke out what little value you can out of your surroundings. But either way, however they did it, it looks great and it's completely believable.
And it's, I won't say ruined, but the dialogue, or I guess the justification for the action, is kind of lame. So after they get done inspecting all the vehicles, like the guy at the checkpoint is essentially like, get out because we're going to do a deeper inspection. And Mako's like, why? And he's like, because Hanoi is the other direction.
Why wouldn't you lead with that? Like the first thing he said, like, where are you going? Hanoi. And then he proceeds to do the thorough inspection of the truck. Why not just like call him out on his bullshit then?
Or just immediately fucking blow him away.
Yeah, like you're up to no good. Bam. I don't know. Who knows?
Starting to make trouble in my neighborhood. But David Carradine and the Americans, they drive away, guns blazing, some really great explosions. Carradine is on the top of the truck, the tanker.
Mm-hmm.
Like this action set piece right here, I think really works. You can feel the tension of the Vietnamese attacking the group, and then Mako trying to keep all the Americans in line out of his fear of being left behind.
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic, the fact that they're like sort of trying to keep this uneasy alliance together just so that they can all survive. But you can tell that they're like constantly looking for an opportunity to double cross each other. It's an interesting bit of like, character tension that you aren't expecting from a movie that has a poster that looks like this. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're not expecting it.
And the tension's it's ramped up because Sparks, he's now running around. He doesn't trust, obviously, the Vietnamese or the Americans. He's kind of looking out for himself.
Mm-hmm.
As he makes his way up the bridge, he finds Mako's abandoned Jeep, and it's full of gold. Not just the chintzy gold that he stole from the Americans, but actually legitimate gold bars.
Nazi gold.
Nazi gold, yes. Wouldn't be canon without Nazis. David Carradine jumps in the Jeep, and they kind of drive off, and Mako's like, oh shit, my gold.
Yeah, because they this is the point where they actually split up, right? Like Sparks just pieces out with the Jeep right at this point, right?
Yeah, he leaves. David Carradine returns with Mako because Mako's like, I will kill all of your Americans if you don't come back. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't need the plot point of Mako needing this gold in order for me to be interested in his character. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because now the movie, Sparks is left with the gold. Mako's like, fuck, I've got to get my gold back and still escape with David Carradine.
Yeah, you'd think that it would be enough that he would be pissed, but kind of cut his losses and just be like, I just want to get out of here alive now. You know what I mean? I think this is probably more us projecting the fact that we just like the character so much that we don't want him to be as evil as he is.
Exactly.
But yeah, it would have been satisfying without it.
Unfortunately, a rocket explodes a little too close to Mako, and you think he's not. He dies. And I think I was kind of confused at that point. I was like, why would they kill off his character so quickly?
Oh yeah, I was like low-key pissed. I was like, no, you like that character as evil as he is. You kind of like seeing him on screen because he's got so much charisma. I was actually upset that they were actually going to commit to killing him here.
Yeah. Then there's a really good quick action scene under the bridge where people are shooting. I think it's just cool because they're in the water, right? They're like splashing around. They're having a really good time.
It's dynamic. It's not just like dudes firing guns in the middle of the woods like a lot of these movies.
And it's not just David Carradine shooting everyone. It's everyone shooting everyone, right?
David Carradine can roll in there like Chuck Norris, like, I need to be the guy who kills everyone. No one else gets any glory.
Exactly. So there's enough action for everyone to go around. Although David Carradine does get his shining moment of shooting the gas tanker that has not only TNT, but a fucking grenade attached to it, as if like the TNT wasn't enough.
I mean, Phil, as you know, grenades in these movies are like small nuclear devices.
They're illogically powerful. Yeah. I don't get it.
They just I mean, it's one of those like nitpicks that you like love to look out for, in these movies where grenades just like have these huge fireball explosions. It's great. You love to see it.
Oh yeah, definitely. So David Carradine and the gang are now driving off into the Vietnamese wilderness. Essentially, they're like, we have to get to this point to get to the helicopters in like 2 days. So they kind of like set a timeline and a justification for where they need to go.
Yeah, like some coastal town. I forget the name of it, but yeah, like the choppers are going to be there in X number of days. There's our ticking clock.
Yeah, Freedom
Get there in
City.
time. Freedom City, America City, Vietnam.
Unfortunately for the Americans, they come across a bridge that has a larger than normal gap. But it's also on a ramp. And so Sparks has not left the group at this time yet. I'm sorry. He's still with the group. And he even says to David Carradine, you know, we could just fucking jump these Jeeps over that gap.
Ramp
right?
it.
Like, which again, like that's Chekhov's gun right there. Like, you know what's Chekhov's gonna happen. Chekhov's ramp. Just super weird. But then David Carradine and Steve James are like, we've got to find a boat in order to cross this maybe 2 foot deep stream.
Ford the river like an Oregon Trail.
Exactly. So again, though, while I think the justification is kind of lame, it does set up a really great set piece with David Carradine and Steve James as they infiltrate a Vietnamese camp to steal some boats.
Right. Can we just talk about this? Like we've sung the praises of the sets in this so far, but this was, I think, another one that really stood out to me is this bridge location. So like it's like we get this really sweeping like wide shot of the landscape. The bridge is huge.
Yes.
Like it looks like a real bridge that they may have actually cut a hole in to shoot this. But they've got that. It's under this like, you know, like the really nice looking river, but it's surrounded by all these kind of like burnt out, blown out armored vehicles. There's probably like a dozen of them strewn about like one side of the river, the side that they're on. It like, where did they get all of this stuff? It just looks so expensive that you almost don't believe that it's part of a canon movie.
That's why I find it hard to believe that they shot this in the Philippines and not like somewhere in Vietnam where the shit is just still there.
Yeah, that they could like find actually like actual burnt out APCs that they could just drag onto the set. Right.
Exactly.
I mean, it's yeah, again, it looks great. It's really impressive.
But so later that night, the Americans are all kind of like chilling and relaxing. And then Mako shows up and he's like, where's my gold?
Woo, he's back.
And then, just like Sparks said, he fucking jumps that bridge with the Jeep. And this is the
USA
one
style.
effect. Yeah, exactly. This is the one effect where they have some guy off the screen and he flicks a Matchbox car up a ramp. Like these Jeeps, when they do the jump, look so fucking cheap.
Yeah, I didn't remember that part, but you're right. I wasn't sure if because it just looked kind of weird, almost like it was like a blue screen effect or something. But I think that's probably what I was detecting is that it was really, they were miniatures and it was like the color timing was just different enough that it stood out to me. Yeah. But I am in a movie full of otherwise really good looking practical props and effects. I can excuse one bad shot.
Oh yeah, definitely. Most definitely. And Mako makes the jump too. So it just goes to show you it's not that fucking hard.
Yeah, just jump it.
Yeah, exactly. The transition from day to night is kind of weird though, as we're still with like the random group of Americans, and like one just wakes up in like a burned out truck and he's like, hey guys, and then like Americans just start coming out of the woodwork from random places.
Yeah, it was kind of an awkward edit.
And then David Carradine and Steve James show up and they have the fucking rice paddy hats on.
I know. Like that's a really good, I mean, not only is it kind of culturally insensitive, but it's a really good way to get shot by your, like at a distance by the guys on your side.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. Is rice paddy hat, should I have not said that? I don't know. It's called Asian canonical hat. Or Asian rice hat.
Yeah, it's I'm sure everyone can visualize what the kind of hat we're talking about. It's the hat that what's his name had in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly.
Raiden. Yeah.
But yeah. So anyways, it's the next day, and then we cut back to Sparks, who is in Vietnamese traffic. There's no better way to it's a bunch of people walking, and
Dude, there are so many extras.
yeah,
It's like, so we get this really nice crane shot of like a jungle road, and there's got to be a couple hundred people on this road in like big crowds, kind of like it's almost like a caravan almost. That's almost weirdly too densely packed, but I mean, it's like a whole town's worth of people. It's like an impressive bit of production value that they were able to get so many extras to be part of this little this jungle traffic jam.
they're definitely not socially distancing here, Greg. I will put that out.
Not in 2022, boy.
Mako is hot, quote unquote, on the trail of Sparks, as he's also stuck in Vietnamese traffic. And then we cut back to David Carradine and the crew, and like, yeah, I like the fact that David Carradine is not carrying the conversation. It's everyone else. Like Steve James is like, man, I really like these coconuts. And then you have like the smart one. He's like, yeah, it's the perfect food. It's got vitamin. It's got vitamin G and vitamin C for coconut.
It's like, yeah, it's a nice little bit of kind of like character banter that makes you kind of like, endear yourself to the characters a little bit. And not only are we getting this great character like development, but where are we, Phil? We're having a fucking canoe scene now. We're in canoes. We're whitewater rafting. Awesome.
We're like going downstream. It looks really great. There's a boob joke. There's the joke where the nerd doesn't get dates. And Steve James is like, when we get back to America, I'll help you, little buddy. And it's just like, awesome. Like these characters are bonding, and they're like real people.
You believe the camaraderie.
Exactly. But yeah, like you said, they are whitewater rafting. We go from like this very scenic, like we're canoeing and having fun, to shit's fucked really quick.
I think David Carradine, he screams like whitewater ahead, and then immediately they're just getting thrashed.
Yeah, and then he's like, jump, and like everyone jumps out except for one guy,
one idiot who didn't get the memo.
Yeah, and I think the waterfall in quotes is maybe 10 feet, but this dude's dead. He's gone. Like that 10 feet killed him.
Yeah, like this was another hilarious spot where David Carradine's motto goes right out the fucking window, because like
exactly
like the one guy didn't make it, and they're like, where's Chris? He's not here, and they don't bother to go look. David Carradine's like, we got to keep moving. Like we can at least like look for his body just to double check. No, gotta go.
He just shrugs. Chris is just down there. He's like, help me.
I'm not dead yet. Be stone dead in a moment.
Just throw me a rope. I'm perfectly fine. And they like shoot him.
Did anyone else hear that? Oh, that's the wind.
It's the wind. I can. It's like I can still hear him screaming.
Oh, my leg's broken. I think I might make it.
It's like that scene in Austin Powers with Mustafa.
Oh yeah, in like the pit that they put him down. I'm quite badly burned, but I think I'll pull through.
The leg looks gangrenous. Sparks, though, he's taken a hard left out of Vietnamese traffic, and he's going through breakneck speed into the jungle. And then he drives right into a river. And at this point, I swear I was like, he is going to somehow meet up with David Carradine again. Like, essentially, David Carradine went left, he went right, but they all came like circumvented into each other. And I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, like it again, in a lesser, dumber movie, another canon movie, actually, they would do something like that. This movie it's consistently subverting our expectations on how bad it's going to be.
Exactly. Sparks realizes that David Carradine has moved the gold out of the Jeep, and he gets pissed. But then we cut back to David Carradine walking through the jungle, and again, like another really great character moment. Like David Carradine's crew is being shot down, and David Carradine looks at the smart guy and he's like, ask them a question or something. And he's like, the smart guy's like, who's the 11th president of the United States? And David Carradine's like, what the fuck did you just
What
say?
kind of question is that? And like, yeah, the other guys who are shooting at who it turns out are Americans are like, he got an easier one.
They're like, I don't fucking know. Which I'm so glad, because if someone was like, Phil, who's the 11th president? Gun to my head, who's the 11th president of the United States?
Wait, okay. I'm gonna guess Martin Van Buren.
You think it's Martin Van Buren? It is James Knox Polk. He was the American president between 1845 and 1849.
Who the fuck knows about James Knox Polk?
I have no fucking clue. Greg. Let's play a game. If you can name me the president before or after it, at the end of this episode, we'll switch the sign
bodies.
Well, yeah, we'll switch bodies. We'll switch the sign off.
Freaky Friday this? Okay.
And I'll say that's canon, and you'll say, remember, since we said it. So who who is the president before or after Polk? I almost forgot this fucking guy's name, and we just said it.
Jeez. Okay. It's probably not. See, I'm screwed because it's probably not going to be one of the ones that we know about. Like, I think it's too late for Andrew Jackson.
You're essentially like, no one knows these two presidents.
No one knows. Honestly, it's like fucking Thomas Jefferson and then a whole lot of nothing until you get to Abe Lincoln.
Which I don't know why, but I'm always shocked when I remember that Abraham Lincoln is like the 16th or 15th president. And I'm like, who the fuck was between 2 through 14?
Yeah, exactly. It's like a whole lot of
exactly.
And then like after, and then all like the Reconstruction era presidents, they're all like forgettable. And it's like not until you get to like Teddy Roosevelt, Herbert Hoover, then you start getting to like modern presidents that you can remember.
Dude, there's no fucking way you know these people.
I don't know.
The 10th. Oh, go ahead.
No, I've got no guess. Who is it?
The 10th president of the United States is some dude named John Tyler. And the 12th president is Zachary Taylor.
That name sounds familiar. Zachary Taylor does. John Taylor. What the fuck is that?
Exactly. Who the fuck knows these people?
We sound like such idiots right now. Bunch of movie podcasters not knowing who the hell the presidents are.
I mean, I could go from Jimmy Carter to present day, and I could name the hits, right?
Hits of the 20th century.
Yeah. I know there's a George Washington, there's an Andrew Jackson, there's Grover, because he's a Muppet.
I was like, but yeah, these 1800s presidents are just like a who's who of who.
Exactly. I know they were really important. The founding fathers, blah, blah, blah.
America, blah, 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 blah.
Fucking no one knows who John Tyler is.
I'm just gonna. It was Abe Lincoln from all the way down. That's all.
Because I'll be damned if it doesn't go George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln, Teddy Roosevelt.
Exactly.
Abe Lincoln was president for like 100 years.
John F. Kennedy.
Oh man, we need to put this on the Twitter, like a timeline of presidents according to that's canon. That's a whole lot of question marks.
Like, I don't know who the fuck this guy is. But yeah, again, this rapport between like Squad B and David Carradine's group just really works really well. It kind of like endears them together.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're like, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
Yeah. But they ask they feed him an easier question. I think what's his name feeds it to him is like, who's the best guitarist of all time? And they're like, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's awesome.
And they're like, hey, what's up, Purple Haze? And then David Carradine, obviously being like the colonel, he's like, where the hell is your squad at? And they're like, oh, they're up at Bunker Hill being shot to shit. And we're trying to find someone with a radio to like call in for backup. So
time for a side quest.
Exactly.
No one left behind.
The side quest is Sparks is out looking for whores. He finds a Vietnamese cockfighting ring.
Pee-wee!
Sadly,
oh my god, where's Pee-wee?
Pee-wee's there. He's like, let's have a cockfight.
Who would have thought that we would like? I feel like we reference Pee-wee in like half of the episodes that we do now. Who knew that like random side character from Enter the Ninja would be such a recurring fixture in this podcast?
And cockfighting.
And cockfighting, yeah. What is geez, like Canon Films? What is your obsession with cockfighting?
It's so weird. But yeah, Sparks, he hires a prostitute or lady of the night, and we get this really great character moment after Sparks molests her. Where
some light molesting for Canon movies, it's pretty. It's less harmful. It's not quite as horrible.
Exactly. It's not that harmful. Sparks is looking at himself in the mirror, and he's getting flashbacks of all the horrid shit that he's been through and has done.
Yeah,
or like abandoning his crew and all this, and he eventually emotionally breaks down. And
yeah, it's kind of sad. Like he kind of like mentally checks out for a while when he's like overcome with this flood of conscience and remorse. And it's one of these things, these dynamic character changes that you do not expect from a Canon movie. Like
exactly.
In your Missing in Actions, this guy would be the evil American traitor character through the entire thing, and he would have no character arc whatsoever. But this guy does. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Very well put. And then Mako comes in, and he's like, "I'll fucking kill you. Where's my gold?"
I'll fucking kill you. Where's my Nazi gold?
Fucking Sparks kicks him in the chin, and he jumps out of a window. And I was like, "Holy crap! Sparks just died." But
is he all right?
He's not dead yet. Spoilers. So we cut back to David Carradine, and he's like, I'm going to go up Bunker Hill, and I'm going to save all those Americans because no one gets left behind except for all the people that I've previously left behind in this movie.
Except those other guys.
Exactly. And then Sparks, we cut back to Sparks. He steals a motorcycle. You're not really quite sure what he's doing right now because he's not really speaking, and his justifications are kind of gone because he steals a motorcycle from a bunch of American officers. Like, his story could have been over right then.
They catch him for like, hey, you stop right there, and he's like, the MPs arrest him, and that's that.
Yeah, and he's like, thank Christ I'm a POW, and then he would have gotten away with it. Yeah,
it's a little weird. I guess after his like change of heart, he's trying to find them now to help them, I guess.
Vietnam's fucking huge, though.
Yeah, I know. It's the geography is a little hand wavy at this point. We know that he's back in safe territory, but the fact that there's American bases around. But I guess he's trying to get back to them and somehow knows where they are and is beelining for them, through motorcycle or whatever. But yeah, it's a little hazy.
I think this last 10 to 15 minutes is where it kind of loses me, because then it turns into an action film with like a capital A, where Steve James, I just ripped Steve James and the crew.
Steve James.
Exactly. They stop a Vietnamese convoy by disguising one of themselves as a Vietnamese person, and they sneak into the truck. And then David Carradine finally turns into the action hero as he's single-handedly infiltrates an American base by crossing enemy lines to save a bunch of Americans. All of a sudden, he turns, for a brief moment, superhuman because the movie requires it.
Yeah, he needed one. Apparently, he needed one Chuck Norris moment where he single-handedly saves this outpost that's kind of surrounded by Vietnamese soldiers.
I will say this, though, while he does have his Chuck Norris moment, and I know this probably sounds horrible, he only kills maybe 10 to 15 people on his way there. Chuck Norris would have slaughtered 100 people.
Yeah, that's true, without breaking a sweat. It actually David Carradine actually looks like he's working hard through most of this scene, which is he's remarkably
50.
Human.
He's 50 and he looks like a normal human being.
Getting too old for this shit.
I mean, if it was me and you going up a hill, I'd be like, Greg, we're fucked.
We can make base camp here.
Yeah. There's not even enemies around. I'm not going up that hill.
Oh, man.
But David Carradine, he rouses the American arouses because it's erotic. He rouses. He spurs everyone to action to get off of Bunker Hill. And it's a pretty good action set piece. But again, he's having his action star moment. He has the gun from Death Wish 3, the fucking
the fucking
giant machine gun.
Yeah, like the 50 cal, which we see him specifically like undo from its post. Like, you know how they got like the tripod thing on the front of it, which I'm assuming you need to accurately fire this weapon.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
he just picks it up and fires it like one-handed, like a stupid Terminator robot.
Look, I know, David, you probably have some like kung fu training in order to be able to handle the recoil of guns or what, but even looking at that, I'd be like, that would fucking bruise your shoulder so hard. Yeah, and he's shooting it one-handed. Like there's just no way you're holding this. No way.
I mean, Phil, he's got to keep that other hand free so that he can save the flag.
Just another moment that makes me cringe where I can't think. Obviously, I've never been in a combat situation. I can't think of any time if I was in the military and I was being gunned down by hundreds of hostile soldiers and go, we need to stop and take this flag down and take it with us. Like, I get it. Like that's what people with fucking medals get, right? Like, you know, but to me, it'd be like, we need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Like it would be pretty far down my list of priorities in a like active firefight where people are hot on my trail. I mean, that's probably why I'll never win a Medal of Honor, but yeah, that's realistically, most people will probably behave that way, but not superhero David Carradine. He
exactly
takes that time to you know, shimmy it down the pole and wrap it up and put it over his shoulder.
He wears it like a fucking cape. He wears it like a superhero cape.
It's a superhero shawl.
He has
superhero American flag toga.
He has his American flag toga, and he doesn't get Steve James, the muscle bound beefcake Steve James, to help him with this.
Yeah.
Fucking dad bod Carradine pushes over a tank of gas, like a giant tank of gas. Don't let me underestimate. This thing is probably huge. Like 500 gallons of gasoline, and he pushes it down a hill and like lights it on fire, and it blows up.
It's and on the way down when it's rolling, we get this awesome shot of it like rolling over a Vietnamese soldier and crushing him, and we get that like satisfying sound effect. It's like Indiana Jones. Awesome.
That was a mistake too. That guy actually died. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, oh my God.
They're like, keep rolling.
That was an on-set accident. We're gonna keep it. It's what his family would have wanted.
David Carradine and Steve James, they fold up the flag and they all start singing "Rolling on a River," which I guess is age appropriate. It just seems kind of like a weird song. You think it would be something different. I don't know what though.
War. What is it good for?
Absolutely
nothing. Say it again.
Yeah.
It was somewhat cringy, but again, I think it was still overall pretty kind of a cool character moment. It showing the camaraderie, like wow, we just got out of that crazy situation and we've bonded as a result.
It's 2022. We're leaving Russia on a boat after defeating
the Ukrainian land war.
Yes. And it's me, you, and a couple other just normies on a boat. And, you know, we're all bloodied and bruised. And we start singing. I mean, what's the 2022 equivalent of Rolling on a River? Is it that WAP song? That
you were asking the wrong dude. My knowledge of popular music ended in like 2006, and even then it wasn't very thorough.
We're all like fucking singing Backstreet Boys. You are my fire. Jackie's gonna come out. She's like, that was fucking In Sync or something.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody. So
Not a contemporary song, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
I was about to say that says something, that the song that comes to your mind to sing as you're leaving a war zone isn't it a song from like modern time? It's from the fucking 80s.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I think it's the like one of the only songs that like I might be able to put together. Like if other people got me started, I could probably get through most of it. But just like imagine this scene in this movie, but with like that goofy opera section of Bohemian Rhapsody instead.
I will
Scaramouche.
I love it.
That would be great.
David Carradine and the troops, they roll up on a very abandoned, cow-infested town. And by abandoned, I mean infiltrated with a bunch of Vietnamese people in Mako. And a kid rolling a tire for no fucking reason.
Yay!
Like,
fun.
It's like all the parents and like all the civilians left, but they left behind like a kid. They're like, Mako's like, we have to make it seem like there's people here.
So they left one kid.
Yeah, like you leave one kid behind.
Yeah, this town looks fucking deserted, but that kid, he's having a grand old time.
As the Americans pull up, like the Vietnamese just start riddling the truck full of bullets. I don't get how only like one American died in that entire thing, because they just got fucking lit up like hardcore. Like the Americans should be toast by now.
Yeah, it was a pretty savage ambush.
But again, like the Americans, they're all fighting back, and there's casualties on both sides, more Vietnamese than there are Americans. And then Sparks shows up with his motorcycle. Now, this town
save the day
isn't that big, Greg. You could probably, run it in like maybe 5 minutes flat, right? Sparks is on a fucking motorcycle. The time delineation is fucked on this part. So Mako is dual wielding grenades, which is really good to do in a firefight.
Oh yeah, it's got really good specs. He's got like +1 to projectile attacks.
Exactly. Mako is like, I will fucking blow every American up, because incidentally, also every American is also right next to Mako at this point.
Yeah, he's like kind of like he's got like it's like a suicide bomber kind of tactic where he's like standing next to the flatbed with all the Americans in it, and he's threatening like, if you kill me, the pins have been pulled. If I go, everyone goes.
Exactly. David Carradine goes in for a bear hug and pushes Mako up against a piece of metal protruding from a truck, and he dies. And Mako's death is pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty well acted, pretty grisly, and we know he's dead because we get that super close up of like the metal spike that he was impaled on, and we just see it covered with like blood and goopy body gore bits.
Yes, Gorbits. That should be a
Gorbits.
game.
Like I know it's like that drink. Remember Orbits? The beverage.
Yeah. there's pieces of dead body in every bottle.
Gorbits.
Gorbits is a game where you see the item or instrument of someone's destruction in a film, and you have to guess what movie it's from. So if it's like a cleaver, right?
just based on like a close-up of like the viscera that came out of a person.
Exactly. Like, oh, that's Marvin's head from Pulp Fiction.
Oh man, that's the girl's head from Chopping Mall before it explodes.
Exactly.
I would play the shit out of that game.
Gorbits. Trademark.
Gorbits.
No one can take this. That's canon.
Patent pending.
Exactly. David Carradine is able to grab one of the grenades, but the other one falls, and Sparks comes out of nowhere. And by out of nowhere, I mean he drives up on his motorcycle and throws his body on it. And
just in time,
blows up. And then he looks at David Carradine, even though the fact that he should be so deliriously out of it, his brain should be pumping with so much like, what's that like hormone, like when you're
adrenaline?
Yeah, like adrenaline and
crack cocaine
and other shit that makes you disassociate real life from your death.
Oh yeah, he would be feeling nothing.
Yeah. He looks at David Carradine, and he's like, everybody goes home, right, Colonel? And David Carradine's like, yep. And then they put the American flag on him and they walk away to the helicopters and they leave his dead body behind.
Bye.
And that's POW the escape.
Ah, yes. That you're right. I mean, it got a little kind of action schlocky at the end there, but overall, I really like this movie. I think it consistently surprised me in the ways that it didn't stick to like typical action movie Vietnam War movie like tropes. Right? 4 out of 5 for me. Maybe 4.5.
After talking about it with you, I have to bump my score up. I definitely like it a lot more because after reliving it with you, and I will amend my white toast of movies bland review, and I'm going to bump this up a whole other star, and I'm going to give it 3.5.
Wow, you had it 2.5 before?
Yes.
Wow.
But not anymore. If you
Now
go
it's
to
a
that
solid
canon
3.5.
letterboxed, it has been amended. It's 3.5.
Yeah, sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes just like talking through the deets gives you a better appreciation of how it's better than most other crap. Again, like we're so steeped in canon movies that as far as like, you know, cinema as a whole goes, it's not a 4 out of 5. But comparatively to what we've been watching, we've had a couple good ones lately. I mean, The Naked Cage was better than expected.
Yes.
This one was much better than expected, but yeah, I'm happy to hear that I've sold you on the qualities of this flick.
I appreciate the fact that David Carradine and Mako didn't have a hand-to-hand combat fight at the end.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. I think like I think that's probably the biggest general bit of credit that I can give this movie is that the characters are much more nuanced than like just action movie caricatures. And I think that plays out in the fact that they didn't have like a battle to the like a final battle to the death between the good guy and the bad guy. Like it was a little bit more of a team effort, you know what I mean? Not just David Carradine having a hero moment, single-handedly saving the day.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can definitely appreciate this movie. If this was $8.99 on Amazon, I would buy it.
Is it $8.99 on Amazon?
I don't know. I don't even know if there is a Blu-ray.
Is there a Blu-ray? Yeah, like this is up there. Like I don't know if I pick this up on physical. I mean, maybe if it was like super cheap, get it on a good deal, I might pick it up. But
if it was part of a 2-pack, you wouldn't be upset that it's part of that 2-pack.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like, oh, that's a nice little bit of icing on a cake. But yeah, no, I think I'm not sure if I'll ever watch it again, but it was perfectly fun while watching it. I mean, we talked about how awesome all the sets are. Like we can't sing those praises enough. Like every big action scene was accompanied. It took place in a really cool, like, you know, location that were like that looked to like it took time to set up and construct. Yeah, I think really the only, as far as like the technical qualities, I think the only thing that I didn't really like so much was the music. There was like that one action cue that we got and every action scene, and it never really fit all that well. I don't know. Music could have been better.
So that's actually the only bit of trivia that I have for this movie, Greg.
Oh.
And I'm glad you brought this up. Despite having a credited composer, the film features almost exclusively recycled scores from other canon releases, most notably the Delta Force.
The fucking Alan Silvestri or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Score. Okay. That was like the main sequence, the main theme to Delta Force was awesome, as we talked about. I didn't hear that here. Did they reuse that?
I don't think so. I could not tell you what the music sounded like.
Yeah, it was definitely not. At least now I'm assuming I'm remembering it right. It was not like an orchestral score. I think it was like a synthesizer, like soundtrack. So yeah, it was just kind of. I don't remember there being a lot of music in general, but the parts that I did notice, like during the action scenes, it was just kind of, it felt very samey. So Again, that's probably a nitpick because the fact that I don't remember it all that well just means I was engaged in what I was seeing. So silver lining, I guess.
There you go. I mean, that's pretty. I think we gave the movie pretty high praise for what it is.
Yeah. So if
And
you like these kind of Vietnam POW movies, I mean, it's probably worth checking out.
this is usually where I say something shitty like, well, have you watched any good movies? But I'm not going to say it this time. Have you watched any other good movies?
Any other good movies? Yeah. So I continued my exodus through, or my journey through the Shawscope box set from Arrow Video.
Nice.
So I watched Executioners from Shaolin. It's probably my new favorite so far from that set. I think the main reason is not only does it have good fights and kind of like cool, like, like classic 70s kung fu movie training montages, but it's got a lot of good kind of humorous bits in there peppered out. It's not like taking itself so seriously. So I really like that. But I think the coolest part about this one was it features that Pai Mei character that they use in Kill Bill.
Nice.
Apparently he shows up a lot in the Shaw Brothers movies, but it is amazing to watch this and to see just how much of that character they kept in Kill Bill. Like, remember that part where the bride kicks him in the groin and he like just doesn't flinch and he like grabs her foot with his groin and she's like, what the hell's happening?
Yes.
Like that's like a key part about Pai Mei in this movie too, where he kills a couple people that way, where they all try to kick him there as like a weak point, and he like grabs their foot with his crotch somehow and like use it to like he then chops their leg and breaks them.
Nice.
It's cool little details. So that was good. And then I watched another kind of a surprise pick for me. It was kind of on a whim. I was browsing through the new Shudder crop. And I came across a movie called I Blame Society. It's like it's kind of hard to pin down genre wise. It's kind of a found footage horror comedy, I guess. It's about a character. She's like a kind of like a struggling filmmaker trying to get her like a movie project made, but she's also kind of a sociopath, and by kind of I mean seriously a sociopath. And the project is about a person who's videotaping themselves and how they would commit murders. There's a couple like meta layers to it, but basically we see this like, down on her luck filmmaker like slowly become unhinged throughout the movie as she's trying to do this project. And she eventually, like, spoilers, like actually starts killing people. I'm probably not describing it really well. It's hard. Like it takes a little while to get going, but like once you figure out what's going on, it really is pretty satisfying because the main, she's like the writer director of this thing. Jillian Horvat, I think I'm hopefully pronouncing that right, but she plays that character really well. And you really believe that she's seriously like sociopathic, just like the way she treats people in her life. It's kind of it's a strange movie overall. It's hard to pin down, but I really liked it. So if you like found footage and kind of like quirky or low budget, things like that, I definitely check it out. Like I said, it's on Shudder. So yeah, I thought that was pretty entertaining.
Interesting.
So yeah, that's what I've been watching. What about you?
Let's see. I've watched a few things. I'll just hit the big notable ones. I watched the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that came out on Netflix. So this is like the Legacy sequel. This is the one where they were like, I saw Halloween 2018. We can do this with Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah.
It is dog shit.
I remember you sending me the trailer and you were worried that it was going to be dog shit, and sounds like it was.
It is 100% dog shit. Don't watch it or watch it. I'm not your dad. There are some really good kills in the movie, but like the kids are immediately unlikable within like the first 10 minutes. There's a bunch of, and I get it. I think we kind of commented on this one where I was expecting more because of the day and the age that we live in. Mm-hmm. But there was too much of, I'm a younger person. You're from Texas. That's weird. You have a gun. Guns are bad. You shouldn't be carrying guns. Oh, like I'm a kid driving a car and there's cops. Like make sure they can see your hands. There's too many of these on the nose social political statements
commentary bits. Yeah.
In the first 10 to 15 minutes about a movie about a guy who's a fucking freak that eats people and cuts them up with a chainsaw.
Yeah. I can see that being kind of distracting when you're trying to relate to the characters a little bit.
It was just to the point where I was just like, I'm not digging what I'm seeing. The kills were really cool. There was some really great moments in the film, but the big kill kind of like takes away a lot of the kids immediately. And they ruined it in the trailer.
Yeah, I remember when I was watching the trailer. So did they do what we thought that they were going to do, where they pulled a Halloween 2018 and they brought a character back from the original Texas Chainsaw?
So they brought Sally back from the original Texas Chainsaw, and the original survivor, and she's so underutilized. Greg, I'm not.
That's a bummer.
I hope it doesn't spoil anything. She is barely in the fucking movie, which, like, for Halloween 2018, I could expect that because Jamie Lee Curtis probably commands still a respectable amount of money to show up in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the girl who plays Sally, because it's the original actress, I couldn't. She's going to work for cheeseburgers, right? Like
that Bud Light Lime.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just so limp noodle.
That's disappointing. I mean, we both really like Halloween 2018 a lot. Yeah. It's a shame that they couldn't give a similar treatment to another good franchise.
The my review though on Letterboxd is something like, at least we know in a couple of years they'll just try it again, because if the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is showing us anything, we'll just get another one in like a couple of years where they ignore the previous one.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, we're well past respecting like canon at this point. So soft reboot done.
Exactly. And in a couple movies, we'll actually be able to watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So
hell yeah,
that'll be nice.
Toby Hooper.
Exactly. And then the only other one I rewatched, The Kingsman, the spy movie with Colin Firth.
So there's a new one, like The King's Man, right? Yeah. Like there's a new one out recently, right? That's kind of a series, right?
Yep. So we're gonna watch The Kingsman, The Kingsman 2, and then we'll watch The King's Man. It's on HBO Max. Okay. So
I don't think I've seen any of those. Are they pretty good, like James Bond kind of action?
I will say that is probably better than some of the James Bond movies.
Really?
Oh. Yes. So a lot of fun and funny, and kind of like plays on the trope of spy movies without being like Scream, where it kind of takes the piss, right?
Yeah.
But no, definitely a lot of fun.
Let's go. Yeah, I'll probably check. Like, sounds like a good kind of popcorn movie.
Yeah, I can let you borrow it. It's on 4K.
UHD.
Yeah. Well, speaking of canon movies that are coming up that we're going to watch, Greg,
boy, what's next?
I hate to say it. We're going to skip Murphy's Law, which is our boy. I'm blanking on his name, Charles Bronson.
He's our boy. Chucky B.
Chucky B. The only reason we were skipping it is because it hasn't arrived yet on Blu-ray for me. I can't find a quality stream of it. So I should be getting it this week, but I don't think our paths will converge by the time I get it for me to let you borrow it. So we're going to move on to the Roman Polanski, Walter Matthau pirate movie.
Question. Roman Polanski did a canon movie?
Yeah, this right?
Oh man. His real life being that what it is, he is still, like, you have to give him respect for Rosemary's Baby. That is a certified classic.
Art from the artist, right? Because if we knew the private lives of any actor or famous person,
we'd never watch anything again.
Yeah.
But that's again, like he came all the way from Rosemary's Baby in 68, 69, and now he's slumming it for canon movies.
Yes.
Oh,
with
another case of dick pics.
Like, I know Walter Matthau. I don't think he's, like an Oscar winner, but he is definitely a very well received actor. I mean, The Odd Couple, he, the later in his career, the Grumpy Old Men movies, like Walter
Mhm.
Matthau has definitely had like a stream of hits through his very illustrious acting career.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, he definitely like is like classic Hollywood A-lister.
In fact, I take that back. He has won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. So, I mean, yeah, not just one dick pic, but multiple dick pics.
So much blackmail.
And
Oh,
obviously, just going off of this, and obviously we'll talk about it more next week. A pirate movie starring fucking Walter Matthau. The guy looks like a bulldog. He sounds like an old man through his entire life. He's always like, he always kind of talks like this. Who the fuck looks at Walter Matthau and goes, "You're a fucking pirate"?
he's a pirate. I'm a pirate.
That
That was like Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon
Arrgh.
with Richard Nixon with a little bit of Admiral Akbar in there.
That's a trap or swashbuckling.
I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see this, and I'm kind of not. It is definitely a high budget movie. It's a $40 million film.
What's the title of this one?
It's just called Pirates,
It's literally just called Pirates.
an adventure comedy released in
Oh
1986.
no. Comedy. Okay. So we've said this with comedies before. It can either go really well for us in that it becomes like an Apple or a Dr. Heckle, Mr. Hype, where it becomes like joke fodder for later episodes, or it can just be a slog. So we'll see.
I'm going to call it right now.
Slog.
One of us is tapping out in this movie.
You think?
I would be willing to bet you the only reason that I know about this movie, I've never seen it. The only reason I know about this movie is that this is one of the biggest bombs Canon had.
Oh, so we're
remember the documentary where they're like, and then things went south for Canon
after Pirates. Okay, yeah, because we're going to start that period of time where they start trying to do big Hollywood movies where we like the Superman 4s, and the Masters of the Universe. Oh, okay.
So get ready, yeah, because like after Pirates, there, in 2 movies, it's Cobra with Sylvester Stallone. And then in a couple movies, it's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So yeah, we're getting
this is a paradigm shift then.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're getting into the Canon meets Hollywood era.
Oh boy. I think we're in the golden age now because they're doing a lot of funny B movies, but not like the Hollywood one. Now what age are we entering now? Is like the shit age?
I think it's we tried really hard, but we realized that we're not that good age.
Too big for our britches age.
Yeah. I think we're going to start seeing more higher budget films that failed. And then I think the B movies are going to take even a step farther down in their budget. And it's going to show there as well. They're not going to be able to make their money from the B movies anymore, because I'm willing to bet we're about to step in a lot of shit.
Yeah, I think that makes sense to me, because if they're right now, they're still in that era where they're churning out like 40 movies a year or more. I think, yeah, they're probably going to start to slow down at this point, save a little bit of budget for big, as it turns out, bombs, but like they're taking bigger risks on single movies instead of spreading out the money.
Yep.
Oh boy.
This is going to be great.
Walter Matthau as a pirate.
So here it goes. The next episode is Pirates, starring Walter Matthau.
Roman Polanski joint.
Roman Polanski joint. Well, if you like what you're hearing, go ahead and hit that like, subscribe, comment down below. I will read anything that you send me. As you saw last week, I read the email. You can follow us on YouTube at That's Canon. You can follow us on Instagram at That's Canon. And remember, since we said it,
that's canon.